I would add that as we looked at this and sought to try and find a means by which there was overlap between the two commissions and how one commission was not being made subservient to the other, but actually of an equal nature and of greater power for both. That was the goal all along, in that there was no relegation of one to a subcommittee status at all. It was a merging of the two, essentially a rebirth of a new commission that will take on the issues of the 21st century that are unique and to not only our town, but to all towns as we see us age as a population. And that aging population is going to have more needs that need to be met, and that we in our county are unique as a city in that we have two commissions. We have both a Senior Citizens Commission and a Social Services Commission. The other towns within this county do not have those two commissions. All they have is the Senior Citizens Commission for West Sac and Woodland, and those two particular towns, their commissions don't meet on a regular basis, and my understanding is in some cases haven't met in quite a long time. So we seek to empower our seniors, not reduce their power, give them greater power, not to relegate them to a role of subcommittee status. And I took great offense at a comment that we're picking on seniors by this. In no way, shape, or form would I ever do that. I honor each and every individual in our community, and no matter what their age may be. And I find that, to me, very hurtful to even suggest that that would be the essence of what we're trying to do here. It's the complete opposite of what we're proposing here. We're proposing a commission that has the power to do things beyond programs, the power to actually recommend to us as a city council where funds can go, and in particular to have recommendations on issues that they generally have never really weighed in on, particularly when it comes to housing, when it comes to transportation. All of that has been relegated to the Social Services Commission. This proposal is putting before us putting before them, all members of both commissions, the ability to weigh in a much more substantial fashion. And if you look at what we have written up so far, and it's it's something that has evolved ever since we began this process. What would be the resolution of this new commission? The name has evolved, the structure has evolved, and it all has evolved based upon the input that we're getting from both commissions. And I think, as we have heard through their joint meeting, that there needs to be more time for more input. And I would just ask that that we direct staff and the commissioners that they present information on a timely basis, and that staff and commissioners attend all the regular and special meetings that might be necessary for this to take place, and that we appreciate the full cooperation of the commissions in completing this task and allowing us to deliberate a little further, or for them to deliberate so that we can reach a deadline of December 12th packet, so that their deliberations can be included within those packet and information that would come back to us on December 12th.
Lamar? I have one question, Geraldine, is the Senior Commission has to meet in the afternoon. Seniors can't drive at night. Too many seniors can't drive at night. Are you prepared to have the Social Services Commission meetings, which now go from, I think it's, 6 o'clock till midnight or something, which seniors could never put up with? Are you prepared to have the Social Services Commission meet during the day?
We would attempt to moderate the schedule. And what I mean by that is, the simple answer is no, they would not meet during the day. But the subcommittee could meet during the day, one. Two, the the Social Services Commissioners have expressed willingness to move up their meetings so that maybe they can start as early as 5:30. And 3, while we both have been at those 6 to midnight meetings, the Social Services Commission has made a considerable amount of progress in not meeting that long. Their meetings are generally going 2 to 2.5 hours now.
Now, Geraldine, at night it gets dark at 5:30. Many seniors can't drive at night. I repeat, how can you accommodate that without having the meetings during the day? We've always had senior commission meetings during the day. I should add, I'm the liaison to the commission, so I'm pretty familiar with it.
Right. We're exploring a couple of options. One would be to assist with transportation to and from the meetings for the commissioners as needed. The second would be to hold, when we do outreach and hearings, to have a flexible schedule on those and maybe have some of the hearings during the day as needed so that the general seniors that would want to attend meetings could do that. And the third, as I said, was to move up the meeting time.
Well, I'd like to make a substitute motion. I'd like to move that we keep the Senior Commission and the Social Services Commission separate.
Second.
Okay. Discussion?
Yes, Mayor Greenwald. I'm not quite convinced that a consolidated commission would better achieve the current mission of the Social Services Commission and the Senior Citizens Commission. And staff has acknowledged that there's no savings of their time, but I think that keeping the two commissions separate at this point would represent a savings in staff time, because the more we belabor this issue, the more staff time we dedicate to this issue, the more time we take away from the two commissions actually achieving the goals and missions of their respective bodies. Let's spend the next 2 months working to achieve those goals instead of discussing a merger. And I think that would be a better use of our citizens' time.
I just don't understand the rationale for even suggesting this. These commissions have completely different functions. One is to deal with the low income and the handicapped. The other is to deal with the increasingly large, we're having a huge demographic shift to older, to senior citizens in a very youth-oriented society. We're talking about a sea change and a society that's not set up to meet it at all. And this has nothing to do with disabilities or with low income. This is the demographic group. I see much more reason for much more overlap. For example, if you're just looking for a token committee to merge, I see much more overlap between the Budget and Finance Commission and the Business and Economic Development Commission. Much more overlap and much more need for coordination. I see more overlap between the Safety Advisory and the Bicycle Commission, which we just set up. So I don't see why the seniors are being singled out to be, and I think it is subsumed. The meeting time is subsumed. The agenda would have to be subsumed. To have the seniors singled out to be essentially considered not worthy of a separate commission. We have plenty of other places we could streamline if the ability is to streamline for the sake of streamlining. The Social Services Commission has its plate full. The issues that the Social Services Commission deal with are huge. They are, involving all the programs and problems facing the low income and the handicapped. I don't think it would be fair to have them have to spend their time dealing with senior issues that don't deal with the low income and the handicapped. I would just like to add one final remark, is that in reference to Steve's remark, my feeling is that if the Social Service Commission, Steve said the Social Service Commission isn't mainly focused on low-income and disabled issues. Well, I think if they aren't, they ought to be, because those are huge issues. I think they need a separate commission. I think if the Social Services Commission is not focused mainly on low-income and disabled issues, that we should do something to change that. And